Alrighty. Well, welcome everyone to this fall 2025 Letters Kickoff. Very excited to be here with you today to discuss this exciting and life-changing training that you have been invited to participate in. So without further ado, we'll get started. It is my goal to keep talking to a minimum, but share important information that you need to know about this training and then open it up to a Q&A at the end. All right, so a little bit about why letters. Okay, letters is important, right? All children deserve to learn to read, but teaching reading and learning to read is hard. Okay, so this training is all about demystifying how the brain works as it's learning to read and what we need to do as educators to ensure our students learn to read and comprehend. So it starts with you, the educator. You make the difference in a student's life, right? We know that teachers matter more to student success than any other aspect of schooling. So this letters training is an investment in you and your professional learning journey because you're the one that makes the difference in the lives of our students. Reading failure can be prevented in all but a very small percentage of children. Through research, we know that 95% of children are able to learn to read. It's only about 5% of students that have such a significant cognitive disability that prevents them from reading. So it's just a very small percentage of students that may not be able to acquire this very important life skill. So why did the district choose letters, right? Well, we know back in May of 2023, MDE, put out a new READ Act that required all districts in Minnesota to choose from 3 different science of reading professional developments to have educators go through. Duluth chose letters because it is considered the gold standard of science of reading structured literacy trainings. So again, this is an investment in you, right? We wanted to choose the best for our staff and our students. Okay. So what is LETRS? Okay. LETRS is an acronym that stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. Okay. It's authored by literacy luminaries Dr. Louisa Moats and Dr. Carol Tolman. And it's a professional learning experience that bridges deep, meaningful research into practical classroom success. It provides educators with the science of reading, depth of knowledge, and tools to teach language and literacy skills to every student. But it's not a program and it's not a curriculum or an intervention, right? It is professional learning, right? The knowledge that's gained through the letters professional learning can be wrapped around any core reading program and weaved throughout all content areas, right? So let's talk a bit more about letters, okay? It's a comprehensive course of study that includes the latest scientific research around the big 5, which include phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, plus writing, spelling, and oral language. All of the essential skills needed to teach students to read and to be literate. It's going to build upon your existing knowledge and fill in any gaps by covering all layers of language organization, phonology, orthography, morphology, semantics, and syntax, right? And their relevance to teaching reading, writing, spelling, and oral language. So this training is organized into 2 volumes that consist of 8 total units of study. Within these 8 units, all essential components of literacy instruction are taught. This comprehensive course of study teaches the why, the what, and the how of literacy acquisition, which leads to improved literacy instruction and positive long-term systematic change in our literacy outcomes. During this professional development, you'll learn through a blended model approach. It's intentionally designed to include the repetition of complex concepts through reading, completing online modules, and attending live professional learning sessions. This model affords you the opportunity to engage over time with research to make meaning and apply that learning to your work. Just like we know our students need multiple exposures and many opportunities to practice when they're learning a new concept, adult learners are no different. So the manual is used in tandem with the online modules. Then we have our face-to-face or live sessions specific to each unit, which allow us to participate as a community to deepen our understanding of the information from the online modules and what we read within the manual. So let's learn a little bit more right now about your user experience and what it's going to look and feel like as you go through the LETRS professional learning. So the manual, right? Again, the manual has a volume 1 and a volume 2. Within each volume, you have 4 units of study. Within volume 1, each unit is broken into 8 sessions. You can think of them as maybe chapters, okay? It will take you anywhere from about 15 to 40 minutes to read each session within a unit. Also, keep in mind that this school year, we are just working through Volume 1 training, okay? Volume 2, also 4 units within that manual, but each unit has 6 sessions, okay? So a couple less sessions per unit, but very dense content. And again, it's going to take anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes to read a session. The online course or the modules are also broken up, okay, into units. So within volume 1, right, it works with the units within the manual as well. So you have 8 sessions, right, for each unit of study. These modules take anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes to complete, okay? There will always be a bridge to practice that follows, okay? And that bridge to practice is required. You are required, this is very important, you are required to spend at least 3 hours per unit on these online modules. So your progress on online modules is monitored by the district. We put this minimum amount of time spent doing the online modules in place last year after we had some folks that were clearly clicking and getting through a full unit in like 23 minutes. Okay, so what's really important is that we are just honest, right? And we approach this and we do our best just like we expect of our students. Volume 2, again, 6 sessions per each unit within these online modules. These online modules will take anywhere from 30 to 95 minutes to complete. Okay, again, there is a bridge to practice that follows each session. Each bridge to practice is required. And again, you are required to spend at least 3 hours on each unit. Okay. If you look at the LETRS pacing guide, you will notice that this 3 hours minimum requirement generally is less. In fact, I think it's less for all units. Okay, so we're really giving you kind of the bare minimum, but know that you'll more than likely spend more time than that. All right, let's talk a bit about these live sessions. Okay, so for every unit of study, you have 2 live in-person sessions. Okay, so for this first year, you will attend 8 live sessions. You'll finish the other 8 next school year. They're broken up into a part 1 and a part 2 training within that unit. Each session is 3 hours long, occurs outside of contract time from 4 to 7 p.m. And usually these in-person sessions occur at the district service center up here on top of the hill. However, we sometimes have to use a different site based on if we have a space conflict. These live sessions are mandatory. So very important that as when you're training your training dates, and more, we'll talk more about that in a little bit, that you make sure that you're available to attend them. All right, getting prepared for your live in-person sessions. So for Volume 1, Part 1 training sessions, it's really helpful to have completed the asynchronous work for sessions 1 through 4 for that particular unit of study. So that includes reading the manual sessions, completing the online modules, and completing the bridge to practices. When you come back for your part 2 sessions for that unit, again, please complete the asynchronous pieces before you come. You can definitely come having not completed that, but it's very helpful to have background knowledge, okay? So you're looking at completing manual reading, online modules, bridge to practice for sessions 5 through 8. Okay. Then next year, remember we've got fewer sessions per unit of study. So it's about completing the first half for your part 1 training and then the second half, okay, of those asynchronous components for the second training. Now, most of you should have received an email from Lexia to get logged in to start your online modules. If you haven't received that information yet, you need to email Gretchen Karg. Gretchen is our new district literacy lead. Okay, I know that there's been a handful of folks who were registered a little bit later, and she's continuing to work with MDE and Lexia to get you your login information. Okay, so please email Gretchen Karg if you haven't received this email yet. And as always, check your spam, okay, to make sure it hasn't gone in there. All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit more about the online platform. So when you log in, okay, you'll see one of 3 tiles and you will see the purple one, okay? This is the teacher course. There's early childhood, there's also admin letters course. There's also 3 tabs when you log in. You'll see course, journal, and resources. Within the course, you'll have another tab that you could get into called My Scores. But first, let's talk about the overview. So when you first log in, you'll always see your overview. This gives you a broad picture of all units of study within the LETRS Professional Development Program. Okay. When you click on the down arrow, it's going to expand, and then it's going to give you every session. Okay. Also, like I mentioned, within the course, you've got your My Score page, right? So this is just going to show you, right, your scores on quizzes that you take after sessions and after you've completed a full unit. Okay. The journal tab is where you can come to and see all of the notes and the reflections that you have accumulated as you are moving through the online modules. And then within resources, you've got access to a glossary, different resources that can be printed off to use within the classroom. And then you've also got electronic books as well. So you can look at the manuals online. Okay, so here's those ebooks, right? And then here's a bunch of, a picture of the different online resources. Okay, all of these resources can be downloaded and then moved into your own Google folder. All right, so one thing that's important to know about the online course is that there's a scope and a sequence. So it's um, the different sessions and the activities are gated. Okay, so you start at the top and you just start to work your way down the list. Okay, you'll know that you've completed a section when you see the green arrow. If you're not seeing the green arrow, that is telling you that something got missed. Maybe you didn't check off that you did the bridge to practice, or you didn't get through the quiz, something like that. But as soon as you complete all parts, you're going to see that green arrow. Okay. And just know too that as you finish a section, you can return to it at any time within the window of your license and go back and review anything that you might like to review. As you're moving through the online modules, there's lots of engaging activities. There's going to be videos, okay, of expert teaching, okay? There's going to be click reviews, right, where you hover over a picture and you get more information. There are slideshows. There's going to be activities like multiple choice questions, sorting, matching, true and false, drag and drop, rating scales. All of these are used to help you engage with the material and to affirm your understanding. And again, there's also that online journal, okay? At the end of each session, as I mentioned before, you've got the bridge to practice activity, okay? These are required, and they are an opportunity for you to directly connect your learning to your classroom. Within the first unit of study, you will select a couple of case study students to follow for several weeks. You'll collect data on them, you'll take notes, you'll reflect on specific concepts and skills and strategies that could be used with these particular students. And in the process, you'll create a portfolio of work that reflects your professional growth. Now, some of you may not work with students on reading every day. Okay, so we ask you to get creative. Do you have a child at home? Do you have a niece or nephew? Do you have a new neighbor student? Do you have a friend who's willing to allow you to do some of this with their child? Okay, so we just ask you to get creative and see how you can complete this part of the training. Each online session, okay, will conclude with a check for understanding quiz, right? It's brief, it's 5 questions, and it affirms that you have grasped the content within that session. You have 2 attempts, okay? It's open booked. Consult a friend, right? It's all that we ask is that you just don't get on Quizlet and search the answers, okay? Go back into your manual, look for that answer, okay? And then at the end of a unit, you also have an assessment. This one's a little bit longer. I think it's about 10 questions. It covers content from the whole unit. Um, and again, you have 2 attempts. It's open booked, test with a friend, okay? Please just don't Quizlet it. And then at the end of the volume, you have a large cumulative assessment. It's like 40 or 45 questions. That one you have 1 attempt. So you really want to take your time and set aside a chunk of time to dedicate to it. But again, that's going to come at the end of the school year. So don't worry about it right now. Um, you are required to achieve 80% in order to pass. Okay. I'm not going to go into this slide because it rehashes what I just said, but it's available to you if you want to come back to. All right, let's talk for just a moment on attaining that 80%. Okay, so your final unit score, okay, is going to be determined by weighted scores from the session quizzes and the unit assessments. Okay, each session quiz is weighted 1 time. The end of unit assessment is weighted 2 times. So let's look at an example. I got this straight from LETRS, okay? Let's pretend that these are your scores from Unit 1, okay? You got 100% for sessions 1 through 7, right? And then you scored 80% on the Session 8 quiz. And then on the unit assessment, you scored 100%. Because the sessions, quizzes are weighted 1 time, we just add those up, okay? So that comes out to 780. The unit assessment is weighted twice. It's got double weight. So you multiply the 100 by 2. Okay, so you've got 780 plus 200 for a total of 980. You drop the 0, and that gives you your percentage of 98%. Okay, so really, you just really want to try to maintain at least 80% on your quizzes. Okay, and again, remember you have 2 attempts. So if you score a little bit lower on that first attempt, go back. Make sure that you're looking for those answers, phone a friend, okay, and try to get that score up a little bit. All right, it's time to get started. Got a few more things to share with you, and then we'll open it up to questions. Most of you, the vast majority of you, have already chosen your reimbursement option. I'm not going to go into this here, okay, but you can come back to this slide. And also, this information is provided in depth um, in that welcome letter that Gretchen sent out. If you have not chosen your reimbursement option yet, you need to do that at your earliest convenience. The form is linked within here, so you could always come back into this slideshow and click on that link. I believe that the form is also linked in the welcome letter that Gretchen sent you. Here are your training dates for Volume 1. If you haven't chosen your training dates yet, you also need to do that. Notice that right now there's an option of 1 or 2 different dates for each part session, right? So for Unit 1, you've got Part 1, you've got 2 different dates of October 8th or 9th, okay? And then Part 2 is November 17th or 20th, okay? So please get in and complete that form so we can start planning our training sessions. And keep in mind that if we have less than 15 people that sign up for a particular training session, we will be closing it and combining everybody into one. Okay. Kelsey and I have led larger groups. It totally works. But just keep that in mind that you're probably going to want to keep open both dates in case we do have to close one down. This is a list of your local facilitators. Um, Kelsey introduced herself already. We also have Karen Tokarczyk, who's a grade 4 teacher at Stowe. Jeffrey Dietland, Colleen Moran are both reading interventionists. Jeff is at Myers and Colleen is at Homecroft. And then you've got me as well. We'll finish today with a quote from Dr. Louisa Moats, just saying that all kids deserve to read and educators deserve to have the knowledge to know how to teach kids to read, okay? There's nothing more important for our educational system. All right, so it's time to get ready. If you guys haven't already started, right, your first training is coming up quickly on October 8th or 9th. Right, so you want to get going with your asynchronous work. You want to be reading sessions 1 through 4 within Unit 1 in your manual. You want to get into those online modules, and you want to start those bridge to practices, okay? We'll open it up now. You can go ahead and unmute yourselves and ask questions. You can also choose to log off at this time. I just want to thank everyone for coming today. And I really wish you well on this learning journey. And I know that Kelsey and I look forward to working with you.
I have a question about the subs. If we are doing the reimbursement option for not the lane change one, but the other option.
Yeah.
And I think I read you want the sub day to be like within a week of the live session. Is that true?
Yeah, it is very helpful because then the information is fresh.
Right. Okay. And just to be clear, we get one sub day per live session.
That is correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
You are very welcome. All right, what other questions are out there? Again, you can always drop those questions in the chat. Kelsey, were there any questions from the chat that we need to address right now?
Nope, no current questions in the chat. I know in the past we've had a lot of questions on the bridge to practice. And so just a heads up for those that are still on, that the bridge to practice is required, right? It's a great opportunity to try out the different activities that you see, journal your reflections. You won't be able to move on without that journal reflection, so just make sure you fill that in. But just know by the end of it, anything that you print off to practice with those kiddos will not be physically turned into anyone. So it is like an honor system, right? But a fantastic way to really engage in the activities, try them out, because they're really valuable. So just know by the end, you're not physically turning anything in, but your journal reflections will show like whether or not you participated in a sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Cindy, do you have a question? No? Okay. Thank you for attending.
Bye, Cindy.
All right. What other questions are out there right now? Because more than likely, if you're wondering it, somebody else might be too. So feel free to unmute. I want to thank everybody for attending this morning. And also, if you do have lingering questions, you can email Gretchen Karg. You're welcome, Joe. Thanks for attending. Can you clarify the grading of the course? What do you mean? What do you mean by adding up all the scores? Is that the score you need to pass the course? Megan, so you are required to achieve at least 80%, okay, throughout the course. And your scores on the session quizzes and the end of unit assessment is what constitutes that 80%. So what I really want you to take away right now is that you want to achieve at least 80%, okay, on your quizzes and your end of unit assessment. And your quizzes are 5 questions, right? They're super short. And then that end of unit assessment is 10 questions. And again, they're open booked. You can phone a friend, you can work with a friend, let's say you bomb one of the quizzes and you're like, you're kind of freaking, like you could contact me, you could contact Kelsey. We could kind of, just kind of help you through it a little bit, help you maybe kind of just work through the questions and talk through it. I really don't think that I don't think you'll have a problem. Like if you are purposeful and you take the training seriously and you read the manual, you do the online modules, you're going to have the information that you need to do well on these quizzes and the assessments. All right, we have just a couple of minutes left. Max, if you're still on, do you have a question? Or Lauren, do you have a question? Kelsey and I will stay on until 8:15 and then I'll end the recording and log off. All right, Kelsey, thank you for co-hosting today. All right, everybody, take care. Let us know if you have questions.